Hello everybody, welcome to WhatCulture Gaming. I'm Scott, joined by Josh.
Hello, Scott.
Josh, my friend, there seems to be another GTA-based thing doing the rounds.
Well, yes, Scott, the rumours are that there are going to be remakes incoming for Grand Theft Auto 3, Grand Theft Auto San Andreas, and Grand Theft Auto Vice City. These come by way of the GTA forums, where the admins and some of the staff in there have been teasing these potential remakes. This is picked up by the likes of GTA Base initially, then Charlie Intel, Game Rant, stuff like that, which does give it some credibility, and apparently these remakes will be announced within the next few months and will be dropping before Grand Theft Auto 6. They are essentially Rockstar's next projects, more or less, which is intriguing because we've heard a lot of rumors over the past few months about other potential remasters and remakes. Obviously, the remake of Red Dead Redemption 1 won't go away. We are obviously getting GTA Online and GTA 5 remasters coming for the next-gen systems later this year, and there are non-stop, what would I even say, rumors of a Red Dead Redemption 2 next-gen version also arriving. So far we've had very little outside of the GTA 5 sphere, but it seems like Rockstar is gearing up to at least re-release a bunch of these games officially for the first time in a long time.
The question I have for you, or the sort of general rumination that I have, is what the hell what even is Rockstar at this point? Like, it's one of those legendary, iconic, extremely, champion studios of all time that have kind of really just fell off the radar. Like, we got Red Dead 2, we got a lot of GTA Online and GTA 5, and that was it. Like, that's been it for an entire generation. And obviously the end of last year, the beginning of last year was when Dan Houser left, who was one of the original members, one of the lead writers of so many GTA games and Red Dead and everything else. And so when he left, I was like, oh my God, this is a massive shift in the company, because Sam Houser stayed, who was always like the number cruncher dude, whereas you had Dan who was wanting to explore more creative stuff. And I was always super curious what they're going to do next. What is Rockstar like without their lead creative force? And if the answer to that is, well, actually we don't know, we're just going to remake the old stuff because that's what worked last time, then sure, you can do that. I mean, I know, like, obviously Activision kicked off this whole remake craze. We're getting the Mass Effect Legendary Edition in whatever month it is, and there's all that stuff. And I kind of wonder if either they're ticking a box, just going like, well, there's more money to be made, making sure these games run on the newest consoles. But I mean, they already run, like, you can play Vice City on PS5 right now. Like, it's already one of the PS2 backwards compatible games, as long as you buy the digital version of the PlayStation Store. So I wonder how much this is a positive thing. Like, I love those games, but I love the versions that they're in right now. Like, I don't even know what you do to them without their lead creative force being there to bounce ideas off.
Yeah, I'm really conflicted about this, because on the one hand, obviously, these games are some of the most iconic video games in the entire industry ever, and any kind of changes or any potential revamps of them will be scrutinized much more than a lot of other games that have had remasters or remakes or whatever. But at the same time, it's kind of weird that they've never been remade to begin with, especially in the era we're in right now, where you have huge big hitters like Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 1 and 2, Crash, other remakes, Resident Evil, stuff like that, all
Mafia
coming out
Definitive Edition.
Mafia Definitive Edition, again from Take-Two, the parent company of Rockstar. Like, all of these games are coming out, and they're being incredibly well received. They're selling really well, so it's almost like a no-brainer to get these games, especially these PlayStation 2 era games, remade, revitalized for a brand new generation. Because while I agree, Scott, that you can boot up a PlayStation 4 right now, buy Vice City. Vice City is an awesome game, but it has a lot of things that are a little bit dated, right? I'm not going to say it's a bad game by any means, but the controls are a little bit clunky. You've got those missions where you have to fly the drones and defuse bombs and stuff like that. And
do you mean to tell me that you don't want to fire with the square button anymore? Is that what you're telling me?
I am, mate. It's all I'm asking is not to have to fire with the square button and run around. But I do think, come on, every single time a mod or something remakes Grand Theft Auto 4 in Unreal Engine 4, something like that. Like, it makes headline news. Like, these fan creations are so sought after because we don't have the official thing, that it's just, to me, a no-brainer that this will eventually happen. I'm not sure whether, I'm not saying that these rumors are 100% legit or anything like that, but I am saying the prospect of a proper Grand Theft Auto remaster, the PlayStation 2 era remaster, like that has to be a no-brainer that's coming sooner rather than later.
Well, like you said, I mean, there's so many fan mods that do the rounds. Like there was a really great Vice City overhaul one that just added way better lighting effects, and even just there's a couple of screenshots of like them, whoever was putting together the build, just like taking a speedboat out in the middle of one of the lakes, and it just looked gorgeous. The different reflections on the water and everything. And it's weird because the version of Vice City that exists in our collective heads kind of gets upscaled over time. There's always that idea that when you go back to a remake or a remaster, your mind has already up-resed it in your brain anyway. So all they need to do is live up to that. Which, yeah, I mean, if you go back to Vice City now, I think for me, I love old school polygonal graphics. So I'm just like, that looks good. Final Fantasy VII original. It's like 3 polygons for a character model. Give me that. It's fine. And I love that stuff. But I think that to the vast majority of people, the mainstream audience, they're probably going to want at least updated character models and better lighting effects and things that make Vice City itself pop a little bit more. Especially because, assumedly by now, most people have a TV set that is capable of something like HDR. That's the thing that I'm always curious on. It's like where it always, like these baseline improvements, like, like better lighting effects, better depth of color, HDR, things like that. Like, is that something that the average person has now? Is that something that they should be targeting? That's always the stuff that I look to and I'm curious about. Like, what's the bare minimum you need to do to resell this as a remaster versus Activision style where you rebuild it from the ground up? Because I don't think they would do that. I think they would just insert new character models, keep the vast majority of the same animations and go from there.
See, I disagree. I think they would remake it only because, jumping off a bunch of other rumors that just will not go away for the past few years, like everyone seems to think that the next Grand Theft Auto 6 will be comprised of a bunch of different locations, some of them having featured previously. There are so many rumors about Vice City potentially coming back, and if they're going to take the time, Rockstar that is, to remake this landmass or reimagine this landmass, and they have it available, why not then use that as the basis to make a proper next-gen remake of these older games? Like, it's been the big question ever since Red Dead Redemption 2 launched that, to be honest, I'm kind of sick of talking about because I don't know why they haven't done it yet, but they have most of the Red Dead Redemption 1 map redone in Red Dead Redemption 2, and everyone's just like, you've got it. You've got so much hard work done there.
That is weird, isn't it?
Yeah, it's right there for the taking to then remake that first game inside that world you've already created. So if they're going to do something similar and include older maps in Grand Theft Auto 6, again, the big question is, the work is partly done. I know there's still so much more work to do on top of that, but you've already kind of started with it, you know what I mean? Why not build upon that with proper remakes rather than remasters? Because like you said at the beginning, we've got versions and ports of this game, of these games, on new machines already, so it would have to be, in my eyes, substantially enough to justify a whole other re-release.
Yeah, the thing that's interesting as well is that it's almost in their nature to do this. Like, if you go back to the original 2D top-down GTAs, it was Liberty City, Los Santos, Vice City. I think it was Los Santos. Either way, those were the 3 locations that then became the 3D games, that then became the HD games. And obviously Vice City is the one that's yet to be done, because they sort of let past that and did Los Santos again for GTA 5. So then the assumption, or the leaked stuff, whatever, is that GTA 6 is going to be Vice City. But do they almost upend that momentum by giving us an interstitial block of titles in between that is also a visually overhauled look at Vice City? Do you sort of take some of the appeal out of redoing Vice City properly if you do it as part of this? For me, I don't know. I think remakes for me are like cover songs for bands, where I'm just kind of like, oh, that's like an easy thing that you could do. The work's already there. Cool. Yeah. But I want your new stuff. I want the new thing. And so, like, I don't know. It also depends how much they approach it as a box to be ticked or not, because they haven't done hardly any HD re-releases before, or they hardly ever went back to their old games before, other than when this initial trilogy was re-released on Xbox. They added a couple of different things, like a camera mode and things like that. So for me, that would be enough. Like, I love those original games, but I would be fascinated if they go anywhere near an Activision level thing, but they have a ton of money that they're not spending on anything, so...
Yeah, sure. You're right. Like you said, man, it would be, from the Rockstar we know in the past, it wouldn't be like them to put all of this effort into, like you said, covering their older hits, you know what I mean? But then again, who knows what the current Rockstar even looks like now? Who knows what the makeup of that company is now and what their priorities are? Like, we were doing this with BioWare for a long time, not to compare them to the decline of BioWare or anything like that, but for the longest time we were like, BioWare, this isn't the company we know, like, surely they're going to get back on track. And then at some point we just had to kind of realize that, oh no, this is BioWare now. All of those people that we liked, that were spearheading it initially, have either jumped off or changed their roles or whatever, and studios evolve over time and their priorities change, so now we might have a Rockstar that is looking at their back catalogue and going, we could just have so much money, and we could, also please the fans who have been clamoring for remakes and, high definition versions of these games, and we could just do that while we wait and also make GTA 6 or the next.
It's like a weird transformative time for them too, because they launched the Rockstar storefront. Like you can go on there and get versions of the games directly from them, and maybe that's just something that maybe they're putting these together to plug that. But then also their teams are bigger than ever, but they're only really turning out GTA Online stuff. I know Red Dead Online is obviously a thing as well, but nowhere near as big as GTA Online.
No.
Versus back in the 2000s, it was a smaller team but producing more titles and a bigger variety of titles too, like Warriors and Bully and Manhunt and all the GTAs. I want like a spark of innovation from them, or I want them to sort of remember when they put out a variety of titles. Because maybe this is just the change for them. Maybe this is a Valve-like change where they become more of a publisher, they become more of like an overseer, just sort of managing existing stuff. I don't know. I don't know. I don't plan on going back through that original trilogy. It would need something more. But I'm also super curious what a studio like Rockstar, what they even look at when they go back to those games. But I guess closing thoughts, I'm cautiously optimistic, but I also don't need it. So there's that. I don't know.
I think that's fair. I think that's a fair place to go down on this issue.
Just considering it's Rockstar, like they have so much potential.
That's it. I would love them. I would definitely play them, but at the same time, like you, because we get so few Rockstar games now, there would be a part of me that's a little bit disappointed that their next project is a remake or a remaster collection or whatever. I want to see the new hotness, man. I want to see what else they've been working on, if they've been working on anything,
Just put Agent out. I mean, I know they cancelled the IP, they cancelled the trademark for it, but they were going to do a stealth game at one point. But yeah, let us know what you think down in the comments below of the idea of an HD, overhauled 4K 60, whatever it is, original Grand Theft Auto trilogy, and what changes you would want to see from those games. For now, I've been Scott from WhatCulture.com.
I've been Josh from WhatCulture.com.
I'll catch you next time. Bye-bye.